Bryce Diaz commits to an already star-studded 2025 class. The TV schedule for 2024 has been announced, and Auburn basketball learns who they're playing for the SEC-ACC Challenge. All that and more right here on the College Loop Podcast.
You are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast, episode 213 of the College Loop Podcast. I'm Dylan Larck, A-Boyting on Twitter, and we are here to talk to you today about the latest in Auburn athletics news, as, of course, we are only 79 days away until Auburn football hits our TVs, and yet again, in a season that could be a fun one to watch, at least we all hope so, at least. But to get things started with a new commitment to the class of 2025, which is still a very weird thing to say at times, Auburn adds an athletic linebacker in Bryce Diaz. Or at least I'm going to say his name until I get proven otherwise. Already Auburn is standing at number 8 overall in the class of 2025. 8 in the country, that is. In the SEC, they will remain at 4th, right behind Alabama, Georgia, and Oklahoma. This is a huge pickup in terms of just getting an athletic linebacker. Of course, coming from St. Francis Academy in Baltimore, Maryland, which sounds very familiar because Blake Woodby, a 4-star corner from the same school, has already been crystal balled to Auburn. So hopefully a commitment will come from him as well. But this is a guy who, Bryce Diaz, 3-star across the board, except for I think Rivals has him as a 4-star. But a guy who I think definitely could get that 4-star across the board. He is just athletic as anything you'll see. Definitely reminds me of an Owen Papo, 6'1", 210. Just really excited to see how he performs in basically a couple of years, I presume. But watching his highlights, it was a lot of fun. Those speedy linebackers are always going to be very fun to watch and very fun to see how they can develop. And hopefully, if he is as athletic as Owen Papo, which is going to be very hard to ever come by again, it just comes down to the coaching staff to make sure he gets developed as a linebacker. But I think that Auburn has the staff in hand to do such a thing. But a guy who can get pressure on the quarterback. There's a lot of forced errant throws by the quarterback because Bryce Diaz got in his face. I am very excited to see how this recruitment goes. He's already said it's 100% shut down, which is awesome. So that means he's going to spend the rest of his this recruiting cycle trying to recruit guys to the Auburn Tigers. But he has already spoken out about how great of how the staff wants to be the best and how Auburn is the best fit for him, which is a lot of great things to hear from recruits, because that means you're going to get those recruits recruiting other recruits, which is exactly what you want. You want the guys to want to play together on the same team. And that's what you got. That's what you got the past couple of years. Really, I mean, if you remember, Jeremiah Cobb and Brandon Joyner started that in the class 2023, and then you had the entire Freeze 4 going on in the class 2024, as well as like Amon Lane and Jalen Crawford doing it as well. But you want to see that again in this class. You want to see that continuously build, because again, it's so cool to watch. I'm going to say this every time Auburn does anything recruiting wise, because again, I'm expecting to be very busy, especially whenever Big Cat Weekend comes along, because holy cow, I'm already pre-making graphics for guys who I think Auburn may even have a chance at getting to commit that weekend. But I'm super excited. I love when a coach is more – I love when a coach can focus on high school recruiting fully while also – sprinkling in some transfers in to really help build the roster around. I was going to say focus on high school recruiting too much, but I'm not too big on how Dabo is running his recruiting cycle stuff, because I think you have to attack the portal, which Hugh Freeze has done. But if he could talk to Blake Woodby and get him to commit as well, this class would go up a little bit more, probably jump to 3rd in the SEC. It's awesome watching Auburn be able to compete with the top dogs yet again. I mean, it wasn't like Auburn is like years out of it. It's been since I think the Gus Malzahn era that Auburn's really been up there in the recruiting rankings. But it's nice. It's a nice change of pace after the previous coaching staff and the end of the Gus Malzahn era. where Auburn is finally a threat to Alabama and Georgia and all the other heavy recruiters in the country, really. So nice to see and very fun to watch. Bryce Diaz as, again, athletic freaks. I mean, he could be a guy in CF college football 2027, 2026. You're developing him as a linebacker to user, which if it's a speedy linebacker, I'm going to be using him. But with that, moving on to the next thing for Auburn football, the TV schedule, TV windows have been announced. We've already gotten the times for the first 3 games. Of course, 6:30 against Alabama A&M, 2:30 against Cal, and 6:30 against New Mexico. So they've announced the TV windows for the rest of the games. I was going to read through them and kind of react to them. There's one of them that I'm very upset about. I'm sure many people know what that is already. Starting off with week 4 against Arkansas. That's going to be listed as a flex window. So that's going to be a 2:30 kick, or that's going to be a 7 o'clock kick. So one of those two. I definitely think that one should have been an afternoon game or early window game, but that's neither here nor there. This is the next game is a game I think is heresy. Auburn and Oklahoma are playing in the afternoon at 2:30. I think that's a load of crap, because I think that game should be at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whichever night window you're wanting. There'd be nothing better to introduce Oklahoma to the SEC than playing in Jordan-Hare Stadium in a night game. That's like your welcome to the SEC moment. But an afternoon game, it's still 2:30, 3:30, depending on what time zone you're in. But yeah, I'm just not too big on the fact that game is going to be at. It's like the sun's still going to be up for a couple more hours. That's like, I find it weird that game will be played in the daylight. I definitely, that should be a sun's going down, Jordan-Hare lights are on, get ready for the orange lights coming on, and it's weird to me that's not that, but what can you do? Up next is Georgia. The Deep South Oldest Rivalry has been listed as a flex game, so that game is going to be at 2:30 or 7 o'clock, and I guess that's kind of 2:30 through 7 o'clock, whichever one. That one's, I'm fine with that one. That game has been at 2:30 since I can remember. Up next, going, I think next after the bye week, Auburn goes to Missouri. That game's going to be an early window game, so that's going to be 11:30 to 11 o'clock to noon for that game. Very, very, I guess, understandable timing. This is not a rivalry game, and it's also a game that I'm already chalking up a little bit. But I'm okay with that one. That one's okay with me, especially because it's not a Jordan-Hare. And I'm usually up watching all those games in the morning, anyways. Next game at Lexington. That one is a night game. So that one will be played at 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. And I'm not going to be mad about that one. I always love a night game. I do find it weird, though, going through the schedule. And I'll kind of go through this at the last 3 games to talk about before I get to the Iron Bowl. No night games for Auburn, really, outside of the Lexington game, especially none of them in Jordan-Hare. So that's a missed opportunity. Very missed opportunity right there. Of course, there's a chance that the A&M game could go to that, but we'll get to it in a second. November 2nd, Vanderbilt travels to Jordan-Hare Stadium, goes to the Auburn South campus, or Auburn Main campus. Auburn North coming to Auburn Main for an early window game, 11 a.m. to 12 o'clock p.m. This one makes perfect sense to me. Vanderbilt, I don't believe is going to be a very good team. Might have 2-3 wins maybe at the time of that game. Yeah, I'm that one makes perfect sense to me. Next game, ULM. That one has a time and a channel announced. That's going to be at 11:45 a.m. on the SEC network. That one again makes perfect sense to me. Cupcake game is going to be early on, outside of early on in the season, especially because kickoff games. But 11:45 makes sense to me. Get some extra time to focus on the next game at hand. November 23rd, Auburn takes on Texas A&M in Jordan-Hare Stadium. The game's going to be listed as a flex, meaning they play at 2:30 through 7 o'clock. Would love for that to be a night game. I feel like it'd be a sham if there wasn't a night game in Jordan-Hare Stadium during an entire season. So fingers crossed that one turns to a night game. Now, the most exciting game on the schedule is, of course, the possibility of Auburn playing Alabama at 6 or 7 p.m. As you know, so the Alabama game is listed as a flex. And as many of you know, SEC on CBS is no longer a thing. So Auburn no longer has to be forced to watch a game at 2:30, listening to Brad and Gary or going for the back, Vern and Gary, for the Iron Bowl. You finally get to see new commentators, hear new commentators, which is just a blessing to the eardrums. But it's really cool to watch this happen, and because this is coming the new world with the SEC and ESPN deal, and I think people have been wanting an Iron Bowl to be at night for the longest time. I mean, last year, people wanted Auburn they wanted someone else to get SEC on CBS game, but no matter what year it is, no matter how bad either team is, CBS always chose the Iron Bowl to be their game. And it has always been so annoying to me just because it's the biggest rivalry and they always get it. They always had first dibs of it, which is the thing. I'm glad to finally be rid of CBS. It is such a nice thing. And now they'll be doing 11 o'clock games, or I guess still have their 2:30 kick, and they'll have the game now at 11:30 on that week. Thought it was weird they didn't get to choose them, but I guess Fox got them first because they're still under that contract. But I'm so excited to see an Iron Bowl potentially in the evening time. I don't know if it'll happen this year. Kind of depends on where each team is, but I mean, if I go on by my record, Auburn, it would be 8-3 at the time of the Iron Bowl. So potentially ranked Auburn team and probably a ranked Bama team as well. Hopefully that means primetime game. But again, it's just such a breath of fresh air to finally see Auburn not playing under the voices of Brad and Gary. I have never been so excited in my life to not listen to two guys speak about football ever again. Because especially I could go and I can't go into too much of a rant, because if you let me rant about Brad and Gary, I will be here for 45 minutes talking about this one thing, and that's not good for anybody. Just very glad to be for them to still be at CBS. But the chances of Auburn playing Alabama at 6 o'clock, again, it just blows my mind to finally see that happen, especially if this game could have been in Jordan Hare this year. That would have been night window without a doubt in my mind. Just because the environment would have just been absolutely crazy. So very excited to see this happen. I think the entire fan base is very excited to see this happen. I'm even go to the comment sections of they have the same complaints I would have. Going through Oklahoma needs to be a night game, and seeing Alabama as a night game could be awesome. And of course, the fact that Auburn doesn't have a single confirmed night game yet. So that being said, that does it for the football segment of today's show. Before we get into the basketball, because SEC-ACC Challenge has been announced, and there's some good games going on during those 2 days. But before we get started with that, I'm going to let y'all know, thank you for tuning in for the College Loop. And, of course, if you're listening live, leave your thoughts on the Auburn TV schedule. And, of course, leave a like and share the video with a friend. Why not? Subscribe. We're almost to 800 subscribers. It'd be very cool to reach that. It'd be very cool to reach 1,000 football season coming up. And of course, if you've already liked, comment, subscribed, there's other ways to support the show as well. There's a Feeling Loopy t-shirt and the College Loop hat, both available on the warreport.com. Go to the shop. It'll be right there on the first and second pages, if I'm not mistaken. But I do have the commercial for y'all, and when I get back, we will be talking about the ACC-SEC Challenge, or SEC-ACC Challenge, whichever one comes first. We'll be right back. Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes, looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feeling Loopy t-shirt as well as your College Loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program. Yes, the SEC-ACC Challenge has been announced. The schedule for both days for the men's challenge On Tuesday, December 3rd and Wednesday, December 4th. Auburn, of course, playing on day 2. And the Women's Challenge, I'm on the 2nd, on the 4th and the 5th of December. We'll get to that as well. So starting off, I'll get to Auburn's in a second. Just going to run through all of these. So Tuesday, December 3rd, you got Arkansas at Miami, Notre Dame at Georgia, Kentucky at Clemson, Florida State at LSU, Ole Miss at Louisville, Cal at Missouri. Still very weird to hear that. Georgia Tech at Oklahoma. Also a little weird to hear that too. South Carolina at Boston College, Syracuse at Tennessee, Wake Forest at Texas A&M. So that's day 1. Already some fun ones to watch. You get John Calipari at Miami. You get Notre Dame at a potentially on the rise Georgia team, a middle of the pack Kentucky team. Weird thing to say that at Clemson. Just very fun games all around. Part of the one out here that probably won't be the most interesting to watch, probably going to be I'd probably say the Cal at Missouri game might be the least fun to watch. But South Carolina, Boston College could be a massacre for South Carolina. Ahead, Ole Miss at Louisville might be a butt whooping by the Rebels. Going to Wednesday, December 4th is where I think a lot more of the fun games are. Alabama at North Carolina, which is a rematch of their Elite 8 matchup, Sweet 16, whichever one it was. I'll get to Auburn last. Virginia at Florida, Pitt at Mississippi State, Texas at NC State, Vanderbilt at Virginia Tech, and then, of course, the primetime game, of course, Auburn at Duke. The jungle travels to the Cameron Crazies. This is going to be an absolute awesome game. I think this is like the last step, the last stone Auburn has to collect to take down all the Blue Bloods. Auburn, of course, 0-4 all the time versus the Duke Blue Devils. Haven't played them since 2018. But I think Auburn getting Duke is so fun. It's going to be an awesome game, awesome environment, one of the best basketball environments in the country, if not the best basketball environment in the country. And I know Auburn's up there too. Duke has been there longer. This is going to be a fun game. I'm so excited to watch Auburn take on Duke. I've already kind of put in the water. I think Auburn has a good chance. I think Auburn has one of the best rosters in the country. This could be a game Auburn goes in the Duke and might be favored to win. But overall, I think the schedule as a whole is very nice. I think that there's not really a terrible game on here except for maybe Cal and Missouri, just because I don't know if Missouri is a very good team. It's weird not seeing like Stanford on here or SMU, since those two are also in the ACC. But what can you do with only so many SEC teams? Because I think the ACC is now at 18 teams, if I'm not mistaken. 1, 2. I'm just counting the thing. I didn't mean to count out loud. But I think all 16 SEC teams are playing, and not all the ACC teams are in. So that does it for the men's team. I'm super excited for Auburn at Duke. Let me know if any other games you're excited to see. If I had to rank them, Auburn at Duke would be 1. Alabama and North Carolina would probably be 2. Just for the shift, I see how Calipari is. Arkansas at Miami would be 3. Georgia Tech at Oklahoma sounds interesting. Syracuse at Duke would be 4. And I'd probably have to say, where's NC State at? Texas at NC State would probably be 5. Which is just based on how I would want to watch them. For the women's challenge, you got a couple other very nice games. Virginia Tech at Georgia, Mississippi State at Georgia Tech, Oklahoma at Louisville, Florida State at Tennessee, Syracuse at Texas A&M, Vanderbilt at Miami. That's the Wednesday slate for the women's basketball challenge. Now going to the Thursday, which you're going to get the majority of your games, kind of built opposite of the men's schedule. Thursday, you got Alabama at Cal, Boston College at Arkansas, Florida at Clemson, Kentucky at North Carolina, Stanford at LSU, Ole Miss at NC State, SMU at Missouri, Duke at South Carolina, Texas at Notre Dame, and of course, Auburn travels to Virginia to take on the Cavaliers. Add to the list of teams who are going to get revenge on Auburn men's basketball before Auburn men's basketball gets to. Of course, we already saw golf take on the Cavaliers earlier on this in their season before going off to win the national championship. But I think it's cool to watch to see Auburn travel up. I think Auburn is going to be a very good team next year. I think everyone that's really been paying attention to what Coach Jay is building has really been impressed by the staff and the roster that she's kind of. She's definitely built up since she's been around, going into year 4 of the Coach J era. I'm very excited to see how the season goes. I know it's a little too early to say I wish it was basketball season, but with the NBA kind of being a little boring to watch, I definitely prefer college basketball over the NBA, and especially women's college basketball is the most fun to watch. Women's basketball over the WNBA. I just love college sports over the professional leagues and whole. But overall, it's gonna be fun to watch Auburn travel up to Virginia and route to a. I'm gonna go ahead and say it, a March Madness berth. I think Auburn will be there in the NCAA tournament. They won't need a play-in game to get there. I think they're definitely going to be in this year. Made a lot of huge pickups in the portal. Got a good recruiting class coming in. I'm very excited to see how the season goes on. And again, very excited for what Coach Jay and company has in store for Auburn this season. Auburn students, I'm going to let you know. Fill up the jungle. Bring the same energy to the jungle for men's basketball. For women's basketball, as you do for men's basketball. It's just as fun, especially whenever you get upsets like you did last year when Auburn took on LSU and took them down. So much fun, especially because I do believe Auburn gets South Carolina at home, if I'm not mistaken. I got to look that up real quick before I talk out of my butt yet again, because that tends to happen more times than once. I'm sorry for anyone who is listening and hearing the clicking of my keyboard. I don't know if the full schedule's been announced yet. Let's see. Did they play South Carolina, I believe, in Columbia? No, they played Auburn. Okay, so yeah, Auburn will be traveling to South Carolina. So correction on that. Glad I got that cleared up before I said anything too stupid. But games galore are going to be fun to watch. So pack the jungle for Coach J. And then lastly, to talk about the day on the slate, Mariah Penta has announced that has entered the transfer portal. Last year in her lone year with the Tigers, batted a 207, had 3 home runs, 4 doubles, had words are hard, 15 RBIs, and then had a fielding percentage of 9.29. Was a utility player, of course, the younger sister of one Maddie Penta. Going to be weird to have now you're going to have a season with no Pentas on the team. That'd be the first time since 2017, I believe. But I guess 2018 probably. But no, 2018, I guess. Was she year 27? One of the years that I mentioned. But wish her the best of luck. Auburn's going to be attacking the portal soon. I don't know how many other players might leave. I think you've already gotten a fair share of players admit they've said they're coming back. You're bound to have 1 or 2 leave. That's just how that goes whenever a coach leaves, and new coaches come in. But I'm very excited for her career. She'll always be a Tiger no matter what. So wish her the best of luck wherever she may go. I think she had a very solid season as a freshman. Just wish her the best of luck where she goes. But with that being said, short show today, 25 minutes probably by the time this all said and done. Of course, I'm Dylan Larck, ABoyTech on Twitter, and of course, I Dylan Larck on Instagram. It's DYLEN It's right there, visual aid if you're watching. If you're audio, I'll tell me if I need to spell it a little slower. Of course, at your boy Tank on Twitter at YABOY the Tank. Also, have me right here on the College League Podcast. We should like, comment, and subscribe. Getting us very close to 800. Remember, get us to 1,000 before football season starts. That'd be awesome. Just be so cool. Maybe we'll do a giveaway. The hat and the shirt for giveaway for 1,000 subscribers. But of course, if you're tired of seeing my face, completely understandable. You can listen to me if you're not tired of my voice quite yet on Spotify Podcast, Google Podcasts, of course, Amazon Music. And of course, all that being said, don't forget to follow us on social media as well. Almost got me there. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the works, all of those at The College Loop. And now, of course, all being said, War Eagle, and this has been the College Loop Podcast.